The regular meeting of the Oakley Planning Commission is called to order. Roll call. Commissioner Price. Here. Commissioner Ramirez.
Here.
Commissioner Krieg.
Here.
I am Vice Chair Verduzco and present. Chair Chuco is absent tonight. All right. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 2, public comments. At this time, public comments will be heard for items not on the agenda. I do not have public speaker cards submitted. To submit a public comment, please complete a speaker card located in the lobby. Submit to the deputy clerk. The time limit to speak is 3 minutes. The time limit is monitored by the timer located in front of the chair's seat. When 1 minute remains on the timer, it will beep once and the light will turn yellow as a reminder to complete your comments before your time expires. Now we move on to the consent calendar. Is there any discussion, or would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved. And I'll second.
All right, I have a first and a second. I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Item number 4, public hearings. 4.1, adopt a resolution recommending the City Council to approve the project titled Planning Area 6H Cypress Corridor Specific Plan, Tentative Map TM 01-23. Mr. Ken Strillo.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor and members of the Oakley Planning Commission. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight I'll be giving a brief presentation on this tentative map application for a project located in the East Cypress Corridor Specific Plan area. This map shows the general location of the project. It sits on 2 parcels, and in the bottom section of the map there, you can on the right side, that's Summer Lake South's development. Bethel Island Road is running north and south, and East Cypress Road is running east and west, left to right. This is a close-up of the site, and again, it's 2 parcels just on bordering Bethel Island Road. So the requested entitlement, or the requested approval, is for a vesting tentative map number 9636. And the city's application number is TM01-23, and that is to subdivide a total of approximately 16.5 acres into 89 single-family residential units or lots with a minimum lot size of 2,605 feet, and the average lot size of those residential lots is just over 3,000 square feet. A little bit of background on the property. As stated previously, it's located on the west side of Bethel Island Road, and it's approximately 0.8 miles north of the intersection of Bethel Island Road and East Cypress Road. There's an existing dry boat storage located to the north, which is also in the city of Oakley. And there is an undeveloped site to the south, an approved tentative map that's also in the East Cypress Corridor Specific Plan directly to the west. And the Summer Lake North development is located across Bethel Island Road to the east. There have been a previous entitlement on this property as well as a development agreement. The previous entitlement was for a tentative parcel map, and that map was to split the 2 parcels into 4 parcels to set aside area for the levee, future road, a drainage area, and developable land. There was also a development agreement that was adopted actually just prior to the tentative parcel map, and that was sort of in conjunction with other developments in the East Cypress Corridor Specific Plan. It's recently been a part of a joint development agreement term extension for many of the developments in what's known as the Grand Cypress Preserve area. And that was for, we'll get into that in a little bit later, but that was essentially for residential development of the parcel, to give rights for residential development. And that would have been for 23 single-family residential units with the option for up to 196 affordable units under certain circumstances under the specific plan, as written in the specific plan. This application also includes what we're calling a transfer of density. There's a total of 36 target units. When you look at the specific plan, it's broken into planning areas. Some of them are for master development, such as planning areas 1 through 5. And then planning area 6 is broken into individual sites or parcels, each with their own target units. This site was targeted for 36 units. The specific plan allows for a transfer of density between planning areas in the event there's some sort of environmental constraint. The Grand Cypress Preserve has control of 3 of the major planning areas, including Planning Area 1. They're the same developer as the project application before you tonight. And in doing the large-scale development for what's called the Grand Cypress Preserve, they were required to do a wetland preservation project. You may be aware of it, and it's located in the north portion of the East Cypress Corridor specific plan. It totals over 250 acres. That wetland has been constructed and accepted as complete. It's out there right now. And because of that, there was 54 units that were removed from their previous tentative map entitlement. So this project is a transfer of those units or that density to this planning area. They've requested a transfer of 53 of those 54 units. And this color-coded map kind of shows the major areas for development. This somewhat fits in with the old tentative parcel map. However, this one is in more detail. It's been engineered a bit further. And again, it subdivides 16.5 acres. The white area is where the residential lots will be. And those are on approximately 8.3 acres net area. They result in a density of 5.4 units per acre when you look at the entire site, and then just on the net developable acre, that's about 10.5 units per acre. The yellow area on the very southern, the bottom portion of the map, is for a drainage area. That will be an HOA maintained drainage area, and it will be south of the road, which is actually parcel C. I'm sorry, it's part of the turquoise area. I'm seeing these are a little bit different than what it looked like on my computer, so I apologize for that. Anyways, the levee is the purple area, and that's about 5.1 acres. So this is just a section of what's called the regional levee in this area, and it will include, it will basically cross over Bethel Island Road, and it will continue to the west south of the existing wetland project that was done, and eventually run alongside Jersey Island Road, and act to encompass the rest of the developable area in East Cypress Corridor within a levee. The turquoise area are common areas and streets located within the HOA area, private streets, and then the remaining area, I'm not even sure what to call the color, we'll go with salmon, is future public right-of-way, including some dedication on Bethel Island Road and what we're calling Street X, which is an entry off of Bethel Island Road and future access to development further to the west. And this just shows the conceptual landscape plan for the site. And I've used this to kind of highlight a few areas of the map that I thought the commission and public may be interested in seeing. The first one is Street X. And Street X consists of two 20-foot wide divided roadways. Each of those two 20-foot wide lanes includes a 12-foot travel lane for vehicles and an 8-foot bike lane. There's sidewalk and landscaping on both sides of the road. The median is landscaped, and in total, on the north and south side of the road and within the median, 68 trees are proposed in the conceptual plan. The other area is along Bethel Island Road. And Bethel Island Road will include dedicated right-of-way from the project site for future widening. There's 25 trees proposed there, both just along the roadway and then inside the sidewalk, which will be inside the landscaping next to the roadway. There's also a secondary EVA access. You can see it there just above the entryway. And that would be for secondary emergency vehicle access off of Bethel Island Road. And then the very northern section, it's hard to see any detail on this map, but that includes pedestrian access to the project site, and it also includes ADA accessible pathway that will run up the levee. This project is subject to the California Environment and Quality Act, which we call CEQA. And it is located in the East Cypress Corridor Specific Plan. Development of this property is anticipated in that specific plan, including unit counts. And so this project is found to fall within the scale and scope of that specific plan. All of the applicable mitigation measures that are in the specific plan will apply to this project, and there are many of them. The project is also subject to the Habitat Conservation Plan, Natural Community Conservation Plan. The applicant for this project actually opted into this a few years ago, and in doing so entered into an agreement. The city's part of that agreement. The Habitat Conservancy is part of that agreement. There's a wildlife, I think it's Wildlife Heritage Foundation is a part of that agreement. And essentially, the applicant has agreed to meet the requirements of the Habitat Conservation Plan and pay impact fees to the Habitat Conservation Plan for additional habitat creation and maintenance, usually outside of the urban limit line. But again, like stated earlier, this project did include that wetland restoration area as well. So that was a credit in this plan. The plan includes a First Amendment, which has been executed. And this project site, Planning Area 6H, is included in that overall agreement. So this project and development of this project would be covered by the existing agreements in place. The overall staff analysis, the applicable findings have been met, and those related to those findings is the site suitability, and these are included in your resolution, so there's more comprehensive findings there. Compliance with CEQA, the site as developed lacks any real physical constraints that would prevent it from developing in the manner proposed. The design and improvements as proposed are not likely to cause any serious public health problems. There's right-of-way improvements along Bethel Island Road and with Street X, which are consistent with other major subdivisions. There are no easements acquired by the public at large that exist right now that this project would interfere with, and the project complies with Measure J, the growth management requirements, and this is essentially our Measure J tax. Our projects need to comply with this in order for the city to receive that funding. So we make sure all the projects are in compliance. Consistency with the city's strategic plan. This, just by function of the public hearings, this is in compliance with the Community and Economic Development Goal, which is to review applications for compliance with our development standards, ensure strategic and thoughtful growth. And not only the development standards of the city, but in other documents adopted by the city, in this case, things such as the East Cypress Corridor Specific Plan. There is no fiscal impact associated with this project. It's a developer-funded account. All time and materials are charged to that developer account. And finally, staff does recommend that the Planning Commission adopt the proposed resolution recommending the City Council approve the project as conditioned. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know the applicant is here with some of their team. They do not have a presentation, but they have stated they would like to speak and answer any questions should there be any. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strillo. Any questions from the Planning Commission? Go ahead, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Strillo. Is it best to, thank you for walking us through it. I just had a few questions. Is it best for me to go just say them all?
Yeah, I can jot down notes while you ask.
Cool. So just wanted to confirm that we made the Native American Heritage Commission aware of this project, wanted to confirm that. And then if you could talk us through the sequencing of the levee being built, as I understand it, it's not built now, like how would that work? And then if you could speak to connectivity, like how this project would connect to the 55-acre park and other.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the project, again, it's part of the East Cypress Corridor Specific Plan, and when that project first came through the city, it was land that was requested to be annexed into the city while the city was working on that specific plan. That project in itself includes Native American resource preservation. We did actually get requested for consultation on this project, and we did let them know and remind them that this project has gone through all of that consultation, all the way up to preserving mounds, et cetera, the East Cypress Corridor as a whole. And so those tribes were satisfied with that. They realized that this has already gone through all of that consultation and all of the mitigation. So yes, everything has been satisfied there on that end of things. As far as the levee, so the levee, there's a couple options for projects in the East Cypress Corridor Specific Plan. One is for what we call the regional levee, or the levee that would surround the entire specific plan to be built. In reality, it doesn't always work that way. You can see with Summer Lake South, that project has its own levee. Summer Lake North also has its own levee that they just recently completed. This project would be required to have a levee either surrounding it, which is not feasible because it's too small, or have the regional levee completed at least to a point where it's enclosed to have the entirety of the project. The real function, the main function of this map, according to the applicant, one of the main functions is to have this land set aside so when they come to build the regional levee, before doing any of the other development, this parcel in itself has that levee parcel set aside. So they can do that construction and connect the rest of the levee to this portion, which will ultimately connect to Bethel Island Road, which will have to be raised to function as an additional section of the levee. And then that would then connect to the Summer Lake North project, which has its levee. And once you get over to Jersey Island Road and you run south along Jersey Island Road back down to East Cypress Road, you're somewhat completing that section of the development and putting all of that within levee. As far as the connectivity, the East Cypress Corridor Specific Plan's general design, and soon, we actually have a meeting coming up soon with this developer to talk about some of these things in more detail. One of the benefits of this project is that there are two open space corridors that run through it, a PG&E easement and a WAPA easement. Both of those, both with the Summer Lake South project, the Grand Cypress Preserve projects, will include trails and open space areas for passive recreation. Also, the levee itself includes a trail on it, similar to what's out at Summer Lake South. So the levee system will have pedestrian access, and this map shows some of that pedestrian access to the levee portion that would be in this project. And then ultimately, with the addition of bike lanes and other pocket parks, there's going to be complete connectivity, including connectivity to the nearby Dutch Slough Restoration Area and ultimately the city's 55-acre park. So that connectivity is there. It's planned to be in place through the levee and through other right-of-ways that are created throughout the project.
Any other questions from planning commissioners? All right, at this time, I will open the public hearing and receive comments from the applicant.
Evening, Vice Chair and Commissioners. My name's Owen Poole. I'm the applicant for the property owner. Thanks, Ken. That was a great presentation. We don't really have a lot of architecture and things of that nature for you to look at tonight. This application is mostly about confirming the geometry for that 16-acre piece so that Bethel Island Road and its alignment can be designed properly and have the right connections. And that this was, I've been involved in this project since 2004, I think, 3. So it's been a long time, and it's an evolution. And you know, what's happened over time is, of course, we've identified all of the wetlands. We've done the mitigation on the northern property. We know a lot more about the property than we did when we first began. And so as a result of that, that's one of the reasons why we have some units that are being shifted over here. We lost a lot of units by preserving wetlands on site. And that was a big part of this. Another part of this, as Summer Lake North to the east developed, it became apparent where their entrances were, and we wanted to make sure that our project responded in such a way that both were compatible, so that when the ultimate levee connection is made, it works. We sat down with Public Works and Planning. I have my civil engineer here if you have any questions for her. It really was a question of, let's get this right. Let's make sure that when we finally go out there and we build this perimeter levee, we've got pedestrian access, we've got ways of crossing the street, connecting to Summer Lakes North, connecting to the levee as it goes farther east over to where the North Preserve is that we've now finished and completed. So that's really what this is about, and it's really, when it comes to the architecture itself, that'll come back to you. That'll come back to you at a later time when we've got the levee built and I get to see some product go up vertically in the air, which is still a ways off. I wanted to also say that people often wonder, well, what are you guys doing? There doesn't seem to be anything happening. Well, a lot of it has to do with being in compliance with all the state and federal agencies. As Kenan alluded, we have 403 conditions in the environmental permit. And so it's a question of checking them off, and getting a little closer. So that's really all I have to say tonight. I mean, if you got any questions for me or for our team or our civil engineer, we're happy to answer it. We'll just look forward to taking this to the next step after this. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions for the applicant?
I have a question for your civil engineer, if that's possible, and thank you so much for being here this evening. It's very appreciated. I don't know if you want to come up. Thank you for being here.
Question for the civil engineer.
Sure. Alexandra.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra, for being here. If you could speak to, I think one concern I have on this, and a question is, the roadway needs to be lifted. Can you speak to kind of just how the levee will protect the development and kind of what that future, I guess, what's required of that?
Are you talking about Bethel Island Road or Street X?
I'm talking about,
Bethel Island Road that goes over the levee?
mhm.
Yes, so Bethel Island Road has an initial design in with the city, and it does meet the grade of the levee. So it goes up at, I believe, an 8% grade up to the top of the levee. So the levee extends across Bethel Island Road and then connects to Summer Lake North. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions from the planning commissioners? No? Thank you so much for being here. All right, at this time, I will receive comments from the public. There are no public speaking cards on this item, so I will close the public hearing and call for deliberation. How do we? Okay. Do you have a question? Or?
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, for someone who's, this is my, year and a half on the planning commission, And I was delighted to hear that the applicant, put funds in for the wildlife restoration, but just kind of if anyone on the Planning Commission has seen this project over time, what that's looked like? Or the East Cypress corridor, like, is this in alignment with what you've seen? Okay.
All right, well, based on what we have in front of us, would any commissioner like to make a motion to adopt the resolution?
I will move that we adopt the proposed resolution recommending the City Council approve the project titled Planning Area 6H, tentative map TM0123 as conditioned.
Second.
All right, I have a vote and a second. At this time, I will call for a vote. All in favor say A or aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so 2 yeses and 1 opposed. Believe the motion passed. Oh, I vote yes. I vote aye. So the motion passes with 1 opposed. Thanks, Jeannie. Item 4.2, continued for March 5th, 2004, Delta Point Plaza conditional use permits, CUP 04-23 and CUP 03-24, and design review, DR 0823, request for approval to construct a mixed-use development within Oakley's downtown. Mr. Evan Gorman.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. I really appreciate it, and it is a very involved project, so I do appreciate you reading off those application numbers as well. Thank you. All right, for tonight, our first item we're discussing on my side is Delta Point Plaza. This is design review, and then it also has 2 conditional use permits associated with it. First, for a lay of the land, we are here in downtown, just across the street from this building. You will likely remember that there's a new brick building, 3350 Main Street, right across the street. This will be directly behind it, and that small new roadway in front of it will be called Journey Way when it's completed. And so this is our project site. It is east of Ace Hardware and north of Main Street. And I'll give you just one more second to take a look at that. All right, for more details on our project site, it's approximately 1 acre triangular parcel situated within Oakley's downtown. And the southern border of the property line, again, has that newly constructed streetscape which provides access to the site. The zoning designation for this parcel allows for a mixed-use commercial and retail development, which is consistent with the zoning regulations for all nearby properties south of the train tracks. The downtown core area, it all is similar. It envisions heavy intensity of uses, a mix of uses, and that's the same for this parcel here. Here's an image of our proposed project for tonight, Delta Point Plaza. It is a mixed-use development, including 7 commercial spaces on the ground floor, which would range in size from 800 to 1,400 square feet, 6,800 square feet in total. You'll notice those aren't large commercial spaces. Those are more like coffee shops, so smaller than what I would say below what the average is around town. Smaller locations. It includes a 900 square foot, 1-bedroom, ADA accessible residential unit on the ground floor, and this unit would be market rate. It also includes 7 staircase access second floor units. There's 2 staircases, one on the back and one on the side of the building. These units are each 950 square feet. They have 1 bedroom and a balcony, and they're also market rate. The facade includes a variety of exterior materials, including stucco, faux brick cement fiberboard, metal awnings, and faux wood cement fiberboard. The project includes an outdoor seating area and extensive landscaping and cement flat work that connects in with that new street, and 37 on-site parking spaces. Here's an overview of the site plan. You'll see there's Journeyway, the public infrastructure on the southern side, and then you have the building in the center, the access on the east side, and then the parking spaces and the staircases, and then the train tracks to the north. I'll give you just a second to take a look at that. Thank you. All right, now a window into the process of applications. Here's the original proposal, which did meet many of our requirements already. We worked with the applicant on making sure the signage was in a place that's more typical for mixed-use development. So here we have it above the apartments, and also on the sides. I don't have an image of it, but there was more open space, more blank walls. The applicant resubmitted to the city. They put the signage in the spot where you typically see for mixed-use development. They added some more brick into the center, and then they filled in some blank areas, which we'll discuss soon. So here, just a good look at the front facade of the building. This would face south towards us right now, and again would be behind 3350 Main Street. You could see this facade when driving down Main Street. Here you have the sides of the building, and you have windows, you have some metal work there and landscaping to fill in that space, and the staircases can be seen here for accessing the residences above, and you have an entrance to commercial space there as well. Here's the back of the building. You can see the rear windows and balconies for some of the units. You can see the entrance and sitting area for the accessible unit, and you have the staircases as well. You'll see here a range of materials also. All right, now that was the design review side, and you'll notice there's also some conditional use permits. The first conditional use permit is for the establishment of multifamily housing above the ground floor. So in the downtown, it does allow for a mix of uses, but it does also require a conditional use permit. So it shows at some point when these regulations were established, the city was open to a variety of land uses, but they also wanted some thought and review to go into it. The next one is a second conditional use permit. This is for special uses that could be deemed consistent with the downtown plan if the Planning Commission were to review it and find it to be so. And so what the applicant is proposing here is they said in order to make this project feasible, they were unable to pencil in an elevator. They are asking for the ADA accessible unit on the ground floor in order to accommodate stairs. And so they're asking for a conditional use permit to accommodate that, as typically residences are only permitted on the second floor. All right. When an application is submitted to the city and it goes in front of Planning Commission, it's not just a simple thumbs up or thumbs down. There's a background that goes into it, and there needs to be, the findings for approval need to be met. Staff provide the commission with an analysis of that, and we take a look on if the project is able to meet our standards. Here on this first slide, you'll see what our standards are. Design review is governed by section 9.1.1604 of the Oakley Municipal Code, and pursuant to that section, the Planning Commission shall consider 4 aspects of each design review application, and I'll get to what those are. The applicant's plans are also analyzed for consistency with the applicable development regulations in the municipal code, and the downtown is highly regulated, so we also have the downtown specific plan, and we have the City of Oakley commercial and industrial guidelines. So this applicant has had to meet all of those in order to be approved. The proposed project, when we look at it, we do find that it is found to provide high-quality design solutions that address each of the 4 categories associated with the design review ordinance. The 4 categories are site planning, architecture, landscaping and site elements, and streetscape. As you can imagine, with a mixed-use development in a denser downtown, there's a lot to think about, and there are a lot of aspects we've had to review. Here we found that the proposed project is found to meet those, as I mentioned, and the site planning for the project, to start with that. They've thought about fire access here. We have appropriate fire access around the site. They have met our drive aisle requirements so that you're not stuck in a tight space while trying to maneuver a car around the site. It meets the requirements for the city there. The proposed parking exceeds the requirements in the downtown specific plan. The architect actually stated, they were so good about following so many parts of our code, they actually had the wrong parking requirements. So they actually had some additional spots in there, which worked for the site design and for making sure that the commercial spaces are accessible. The proposed facades of the Delta Point Plaza building feature an articulated design that conforms to the city's established design guidelines. A lot of times you'll see a boxy flat facades that don't have any articulation to them. Here they've done that, which is good. The use of multiple exterior material types on the facades further enhances the development's adherence to Oakley's aesthetic standards. So we ask that you use a number of materials. You don't just stick to one, stucco or something of that nature. Here they've done that, which is great. And then to prevent blank, uninteresting wall sections, the applicant has incorporated interesting metalwork and residential windows, adding visual interest and depth to the overall design. And a key point, the pedestrian walkways have been well integrated into the new public streetscape, which we like to see. It features stairs, landscaping, and accessible pathways. All right, now to the CUPs. With this proposed project, the applicant has suggested multifamily housing, and it is consistent with the goals of the downtown specific plan and the findings for a conditional use permit. When you look at it, the design of it matches the downtown, and there is the findings require that there's adequate infrastructure here. We do find that there is adequate infrastructure, not only for utilities, but there's also multiple modes of transportation in this area as well. The second conditional use permit request, which is for an accessible ground floor unit, is also found to be consistent with the downtown specific plan. The accessible unit allows access to the surrounding streetscape and downtown while ensuring the project is feasible to construct. Environmental review. For environmental review, this project is exempt from the requirements of CEQA pursuant to Guideline Section 15332, infill development projects. The project is consistent with the applicable general plan designation and all applicable general plan policies, as well as the applicable zoning designation and regulations. The proposed development occurs within city limits on a project site no more than 5 acres, substantially surrounded by urban uses. The project site has no value as habitat for endangered, rare, or threatened species. Approval of the project is found to not result in any significant effects relating to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality. The site can be adequately served by the required utilities and public services. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the project titled Delta Point Plaza as conditioned. I have the architect team from Milestone here tonight. They've made the drive from Yuba City, which is good, and they don't have a presentation, but they're happy to answer your questions. And I also received some great questions from commissioners that I was not able to get to. If you'd like to ask them here, happy to answer them. I appreciated them. They were good. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gorman. At this time, any questions from the Planning Commission? Go ahead, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, thank you. I have a question for, yes, thank you. Can you talk through I had a question I sent over email, but over like a safety plan around the railroad? Like, is there going to be fencing there, or is it just open to the public? That'd be helpful, thank you.
Yes, no problem. So you had that great question over email, which was addressing whether there was fencing or something on the north side to prevent access from the railroad. And I think that's a good point. I think if it pleases the commission, we could ask the applicant, but I think ultimately, if we don't have something, the commission here would be able to condition the project. I have some wording here suggested, should you agree upon it, and so someone could make a motion to approve with the condition that, say, staff and the applicant work together on a solution prior to occupancy to prevent access to the train tracks to the north. Right now, it is parking, landscaping, a retaining wall and drop-off, if I'm correct, and the applicant can confirm, and then that's it. You know, it is a substantial retaining wall, but it is true that there is not a fence.
All right, any other questions from the Planning Commission? All right. At this time, we will receive comments. I will open the public hearing, receive comments from the public. I do have a public speaker card. Mr. Cesar Plasencia would like to speak.
Good evening, Vice Chair, Commissioners. My name is Cesar Plasencia. I'm a field representative for the NorCal Carpenters Union. As a carpenter, I urge you to recognize the critical significance of livable wages, healthcare, and apprenticeship programs in our industry. First, a livable wage is not just about earning enough to get by. It is about being valued for the hard work we put in and day out. When we earn our livable wage, we can support our families and ourselves without constantly worrying about making ends meet. It is about dignity and respect for our labor. Secondly, access to healthcare is paramount. Construction work is physically demanding and hazardous, and injuries are not uncommon. Having comprehensive healthcare coverage ensures that we can receive the medical attention we need without facing financial ruin. It is about safeguarding our well-being and providing peace of mind for our loved ones and ourselves. Lastly, apprenticeship programs are the backbone of our industry. They provide construction workers with the training, guidance, and hands-on experience necessary to excel in our field. By investing in apprenticeships, we not only secure the future of our trade, but also uphold high standards of craftsmanship and safety. In conclusion, livable wages, healthcare, and apprenticeship programs are not luxuries. They are fundamental rights and essential components of a thriving construction industry. Let us advocate for fair compensation, access to healthcare, and robust apprenticeship opportunities to ensure a brighter future for all construction workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Plasencia. All right, at this time, we will receive comments from the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Julio Tinajero from Milestone Associates. I'm glad to be here. First of all, I wanted to thank staff. They've been really helpful during the process. A lot of good information has been shared back and forth, which allowed us to come up with this really good design. We feel really happy with the design. As mentioned, it's just unique to this area. We're not duplicating this from another location. This is specific to Oakley, so we're excited about that. And we just feel that the location where it's at, definitely pedestrian friendly with the proposed retail uses. It's connected to the downtown area, so it's going to be a pedestrian friendly. We're looking for just to implement these residential units to be just part of the downtown area. So it just came together really well. So we're excited about it. And there are some side issues that you guys know. There's, some grading concerns that we actually have the civil team here as well. If you had any questions for the engineer, he's here tonight. But as far as the grading and retaining wall questions and some of the question about protecting and accessibility, that's definitely being addressed through our construction documents. We'll address that. But if you have any specific grading questions, about drainage or retaining walls, he can answer those questions. I don't know if you guys, we're excited about Oakley. We brought a couple projects to you guys in the past. We did the newly built Chevron gas station on Neroli. I don't know if you guys seen that. It's like another unique design that we got a lot of awards actually from corporate who really likes it, and I think we're getting good feedback from the city. So that was another one where we just really worked with staff and what the community's asking for, and just really want to do really good projects for the area. So again, we're excited about it, and looking forward to going forward with this. So with that, if there's any questions I can answer.
Thank you so much. Any questions for the applicant? Please, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you for being here this evening. It's very much appreciated. I think this project is very interesting, we had our economic development director come last meeting. It was really helpful to learn about business growth in Oakley. And I'm wondering if you could speak to a few things, but one, if you could just address like your work with unions, like how you contract and work with folks on your projects, a little bit about that just based off the previous comment. And then two, if we can hear a little bit more about, I appreciate that this project is not boxy, right? It's not a boxy proposal, but can you talk to us a little bit about material and kind of what material you plan, that faux brick? Is there opportunity to use brick or more artisan work? Just kind of thinking about the future of Oakley and this being a site that a lot of folks will be coming through and seeing and spending money in. And then can you also speak to the fencing? Is that something that you would be open to incorporating? I'm happy to give a little bit of background on those railroad tracks as a school teacher. The safety of our young people is very important.
Okay. As far as the construction, we're not involved with the construction part of it. We're the design firm. I believe the owner, developer, who the applicant is the one that built the building that was you just talked about. It's the same developer, so I know he is aware of this concern as far as union, but I'm not sure that breakdown as far as construction, if he uses union or if it's non-union. That's kind of out of our wheelhouse as far as when it comes to that. The finishes it's something that's been used nationwide. We do a lot of projects, and longevity of materials over time, especially in commercial use. It's found that although the thin brick looks really good, or these kind of materials, the longevity of that product compared to the product that we're proposing, we have a longer life. That look is going to stay. It's been shown that it doesn't get damaged as easily because it's a lot more sturdy or solid compared to the say thin brick. Also the longevity, the installation, and then the feasibility. Obviously, this is a building that has to be cost effective. So as that has also been taken into account for the construction costs, because although it gives you a really good look, it's definitely a cost savings for the developer. So, we have to make sure the project is feasible, it's cost effective, and so we have to look at all these materials. I understand that sometimes if you don't see you can see some of the product already around that. Most of the newer chains or companies have tested what's the best material for longevity to have the look without having it get dated or faded over time or broken. So these finishes that's one of the two reasons. One is longer life of the finish, and then also the cost. So, we can look at the feasibility and maybe going with an alternate. If the city has something they prefer, or like something you guys like. I've had other jurisdictions where they're like, hey, we're brick. We want brick no matter what. And we're like, so we have to see if we can make it work. There's other towns that just want stone. We're a stone city. We don't want no brick. We want culture stone. So, if there's something like that, we dealt with planning, or worked with planning, so we felt pretty good that what we presented was going to be meet the materials of the design guidelines. So, again, we can consider it, but I believe right now that what's being presented is both cost effective and gives us a design that meets the design guidelines of the city. And then as far as fencing, yeah, definitely. We want to do these projects. Safety is number one. So as far as fencing or any kind of restriction to that access of the railroad, that's definitely going to be part of the project. So right now, I know the grading, like I said, it kind of drops off. There's a retaining wall. So we're going to put some kind of barrier to ensure that some kid doesn't just struggle and walk across. It's definitely going to be taken into account. And based on what your concern is, it's going to be fence that will be for that purpose, for design, for safety purposes. So both will look nice and safety concerns. Good. Anything else?
So just to be clear, you guys are planning on putting up a fence to separate the railroad tracks
Oh.
from the,
Yeah, so right now it's, and I can have the engineer speak to it, but the way it's designed, if you look at the site, it kind of drops off down to the railroad. So we had to actually build a retaining wall to kind of level it off.
uh-huh.
And so we are actually a little bit higher than the railroad when it drops off. So although, like I said, we have a landscape buffer that separates the parking from the railroad, putting up, I think what the applicant was trying to avoid was having to put a big CMU wall, which would be obviously really cost effective at this point, but some kind of barrier, alternate barrier that would be cost effective would not be unreasonable.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Go ahead.
Just kind of an opportunity to, I understand the cost-effective nature of the project. I'm thinking about beautification and kind of the beauty of downtown. Is public art or something to, integrating more artisan work into this project, being downtown, is that something you'd be open to?
Yeah, if you, again, if there's something that you guys, the city has, again, some jurisdictions have a list of approved artists, local artists, that they have stuff that you guys want us to consider. We definitely would do that. We've done these all over the state, so we've known exactly what you're asking for. So if you do have either not preferred, but a list of local artisans that you guys would want us to use, or some kind of artistic, we can look at that. I don't think that's a specific of the design guidelines, but that would be something that we would, if it's, the challenge is, art is expensive, and that's another big ticket item that if it's gonna affect the project, we have to look at it from a feasibility point. But if it's something that's reasonable, I'm sure the applicant would be open to that.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
All right, at this time, I will close the public comment and call for deliberation.
I think just kind of to add, we had our economic development director. I think this is an exciting project. I really do. 2 stories, more housing downtown. Was excited to see that. I do have concerns about the aesthetics of it, the beauty of the material that's chosen. And I was delighted to hear that the applicant wants to incorporate fencing into it, especially thinking about it being family housing. But I do still have concerns around the beauty and the material that's chosen. And I appreciate also the applicant's willingness to partner with local artisans. So those 2 things, I think, because there's a willingness to work with the city around local artisans and fencing, I can appreciate, but I do have concerns around the design and the beauty of the 2-story structure.
Any other comments? Jean? Go ahead, Jean.
I actually like the way it looks. I was very impressed with I like the before and after, and I think it fits with the rest of what's being done in downtown Oakley. I think it fits in well. As far as public art, maybe that would be something down the line that the city could look in. I know there's various grants available for public art projects, and I don't know if the city has pursued any of that or not. Not as part of this project, but just in general. I know we've got a couple of great pieces around town, and that could be a separate conversation aside from this project. But I think it looks great. I'm very excited about it. It's different, and like you said, adds housing to the downtown area. So I think it fits and it looks good, and I'm very excited about it.
Just a question, I'm thinking about the art, Ken. Is there a specific department or committee that is responsible for that?
Most of the public art that we've had eventually goes through some sort of design or CIP project or something and is adopted that way, like the Bird and Thule's down the street here on Main Street. We don't have a specific committee that would address that. We don't have specific appointees. I did want to take this opportunity just to mention that a public art program has been discussed internally, at least. It was something that the previous community development director was starting to work toward and researching. And that is something that we hope to maybe start up again once we get our staffing back to full level. So that could be something that comes forward in the future for the Planning Commission and or City Council to consider. But as of now, no specific committee.
All right. Would any commissioner like to make a motion to adopt the resolution?
I think it'd be a positive thing for downtown. I'd move that we approve this project.
Can I make a friendly amendment to, or is that possible? I would, friendly amendment to that, moving towards approval with the fencing, using the language around the fencing, and then around applicants' willingness to work with local artisans. Something like having that be a conversation, be in the conversation with this project.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is Jennifer Mizrahi. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Okay, fantastic. If I might, just so it's a little bit more clear for the record, that would be the condition that I think it was Mr. Gorman who actually made for the record. And then in addition, what I'm hearing is an additional condition to have maybe the developer work with staff on some kind of reasonable possible art project. I don't want it to make it too ubiquitous so that we know that the developer could go ahead and actually meet that condition. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yes, that language is to work with a developer on a proposed public art project. That language is ideal.
Yes, thank you.
So do you accept that amendment and do you want to move forward?
With that amendment, I move that we move forward with this.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a first and a second, so I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Next, we move to item number 5, regular calendar. There are no items, so we'll move on to item 6, reports. Reports from staff members.
No reports at this time, Vice Chair.
Item 6.2, reports from planning commissioners or requests for future agenda items.
I have one. Yeah.
Please.
I know I asked for some things on the agenda, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I had the chance to go to All Abilities Day with East Bay Regional Parks, and I learned that All Abilities Day was actually piloted in Oakley, so folks of different learning, different accessibility needs, those who are different visual or, those in wheelchairs, just really, really beautiful, beautiful event, and meeting some folks on the board of East Bay Regional Parks. They're open to coming and speaking with the Planning Commission. So I would like to request, I know we're all very, very busy, but maybe on a day where it's very light on the agenda, we invite some folks from East Bay Parks on their board to come present, especially with our conversations around parks.
Thank you for sharing that. That was great. All right. So next we move on to item number 7, which is work session. Poncho's Market, number 2, preliminary general plan amendment. work session to discuss the merits of a potential project to amend the general plan land use designation of an approximately 0.42 acre parcel from residential low medium to commercial. Mr. Evan Gorman.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair and the Commission for having me again for this item. This is a work session for Pancho's Market 2, and we'll start with the project location. We're here towards the center of town, on the more southern end of town along Main Street. And we get a closer view there of the intersection. And then for the project's site, despite appearing as a single half-acre lot, the subject property is divided into two separate parcels. The separation is right down the middle along the southern wall of the market. And so this lot has an existing grocery and convenience store with off-street parking on it. It's designated residential low/medium, otherwise known as RLM in Oakley's general plan, and it is zoned R6, single-family residential district. The property is surrounded by residential uses, except the properties to the south along Main Street are zoned for commercial development. Here on this map, you'll see yellow is residential, pink is also a form of residential, and there in red are the commercial properties to the south along Main Street on corners. This is a work session request, and it's an item from the property owner to discuss the merits of a potential project to amend the general plan land use designation of the property from residential low medium, RLM, to commercial, CO. Why do we do work sessions? A preliminary work session offers a chance for feedback and community involvement. The investment in a general plan amendment is a good, solid deposit, and the city's only permitted to do 4 general plan amendments a year. So we really want to get feedback on these ahead of time. Because this is a preliminary application, we haven't done the full review you would typically have with an application in order to get it to you in a cost-effective manner for the applicant. And the purpose of this session is to simply get feedback on whether there is support for a change in land use from residential to commercial. And that's not actual land use because it already is commercial, but on paper in our planning documents, whether to have it as commercial. Now, the first big question, I got this great question from a commissioner, and I appreciated it, is, is there any background on why, if this was commercial, if this has a market on it, has had one, is there background on both work session items tonight on why they had different land use designations? And so I have gone through the record, and I don't see a lot of information. I went through the minutes from 2002. And as you can imagine, with a citywide general plan land use designation, there's a lot of discussion on specific parcels, and I don't see any comments or information on these specific parcels tonight. And so we're left to wonder why they were done that way, and it could deal with the vision of the city at that time in 2002, and it just could differ from today. For the analysis, the applicant is seeking the modification in order to operate with the same regulations as other commercial properties in town. Currently, due to the existing residential designation, the convenience store is considered a legal non-conforming property under Oakley's municipal code. Every city has a lot of these examples. The way I explain it on the phone is if your designation is different than what you currently have, your property is kind of locked in amber. You aren't able to expand it. You aren't able to do a lot of alterations because the city wants you, cities generally want you to transition to that new land use. And so you're limited. Here, the applicant finds that the commercial land use designation would be appropriate. It would afford them the same options as other commercial properties, and it would enhance the property's alignment with community objectives. They're saying that this, if changing it back to commercial or changing it to commercial would not conflict with our goals. The city's planning documents envision a series of commercial properties lining Main Street, serving the nearby neighborhoods in this area of town. The existing convenience store land use could be interpreted as aligning with this vision. And this stretch of Main Street features multiple properties on intersection corners zoned for commercial development, similar to what the applicant is seeking. For our recommendation, this is just an advisory hearing only. There is no process to approve a project because of this work session. The Planning Commission may act in an advisory role to the City Council. Staff will include the Planning Commission's consensus direction and minutes from this meeting to the City Council at a future work session. And so we're simply asking for your feedback and the public's feedback if there's any public comment on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorman. So there are no public comments received for this item. So I move on to the commissioners. Does anybody have any questions or direction to provide to staff to be presented with the item's future City Council work session?
I don't really have a question. The proposed change from residential to commercial makes sense, particularly because right now, those two properties that are designated as commercial are kind of out there by themselves, and that particular market serves a very important role in that part of our city, and to not allow them to expand or remodel or whatever they need to do to make themselves even better just doesn't make sense to me. I think it should be changed to commercial.
I agree. I see it the same way. Any other questions or comments? Direction?
Yeah, I completely agree that with your words and your sentiments. I'm curious because I drive this in from work every day, and it's a very busy corridor. Just looking at what does the future of that corridor look like commercial-wise, and then just regarding the specific applicant, Pacho's Market, best carne asada in town. Like just an amazing establishment. I think in recent, so doing that drive, the beautification of that site, beautiful orange wall, totally in favor of making this commercial, but I just wonder what conversations look like to make that corridor commercial. What does that future of that corridor from Oakley to Brentwood look like?
If it pleases the commission, I can answer that. Right now, it is separate property owners that we work with every year, and they're at different stages of exploring development. We do have remodels. We have Rancho Co-op is in the process of remodeling, modifying the facade. They have been approved for that. We've received we're about to receive a design review application for a U-Haul business in the southeast corner of town as well in that corridor. But it's not a concerted effort right now. It's different property owners contacting us, and we help them as best we can with our guidelines.
Thank you, Mr. Gorman. Any other questions or comments or direction for the City Council? Okay. Is sufficient feedback provided? Do we feel comfortable with that?
Yes, staff does. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on so no action required at this time from the commission. Moving on to item 7.2, 5050 Live Oak Avenue, preliminary general plan amendment, work session to discuss the merits of a potential project to amend the general plan land use designation of an approximately 1.42 acre parcel from light industrial to residential low medium. Mr. Evan Gorman.
Thank you very much once more. This is another work session for 5050 Live Oak Avenue. It has two houses on it, and so I just want to let you know there's another address, 5052 Live Oak, on this property. All right, for the project location, we're all the way on the west side of town, near the intersection of Live Oak and Oakley Road. We'll get you a closer view here. Here we are. The parcel here is just south of the school. and north of the intersection. 5050-5052 Live Oak is a 1.42 acre property. It's designated light industrial currently in Oakley's general plan, and it's also zoned light industrial to match that. The property has 2 existing single-family homes on it. Immediately to the north of the subject property lies Orchard Park Elementary School. The other adjacent lots share a similar rural character to the subject property, with most being long established, gravel driveways, perimeter fences, and older homes. This item is a request to discuss the merits of a potential project to amend the general plan land use designation of the property from light industrial to residential low/medium, RLM, for the purposes of applying for the entitlements to subdivide the property for residential development. All right. When evaluating amendments to the general plan land use designation, it's important to conduct a comparative review of the land uses and designations of adjacent properties. Although a significant portion of the surrounding area is designated as light industrial in the city's general plan and zoning map, the presence of nearby residential homes and an adjacent school lends the actual development a distinctly residential character. Given the surrounding context, the area around the northeast corner of the intersection, let's just give you a view of that really quick. All right, the northeast corner right there. So right now we have 2 light industrial parcels and then a residential one to the east. Including the subject property could potentially accommodate residential development without significantly impacting the city's goals for industrial business growth. So in 2002, again, when they had the original designation when we incorporated, we had this whole area as light industrial. And we've seen some development similar to that over time, not an extensive amount. And we have seen residences proposed to the east of this project site. So we have an approved tentative map. Let me get you a map here so you don't have to visualize. Okay, so there's a larger yellow parcel to the east of the project site. That was light industrial. The applicant submitted a similar request and was approved for a subdivision. And so that larger parcel went from light industrial to residential. And so this subject property tonight is asking for something similar. And so you're seeing that residential creep in, and that light industrial reflects the city's goals at the time. And here tonight we're addressing whether it is appropriate. When we look at the analysis, When we look at the analysis of the area, we do see that it is currently rural residential in nature. And so it may not be considered, it may be appropriate to have residential here. We still have a lot of light industrial to the west, and this northeast corner developing as residential may not impact our goals as a city. The development potential of this project site is not high. The maximum amount of lots, I believe, is 5. So we would not be seeing a large subdivision here. And then again, we also have the school directly to the north. And so we may want to see residential development adjacent to the school as opposed to light industrial. Ultimately, the purpose of the work session is simply to get feedback from the commission and the public on whether there is support for the change in land use from light industrial to residential. This is an advisory hearing only. There is no process to approve a project, like I mentioned. The Planning Commission may act in an advisory role to the City Council. Staff will include the Planning Commission's consensus direction and minutes from this meeting to the City Council at a future work session. Unfortunately, I don't have the applicant was unavailable. They could not make this, and they apologize. But I can answer any questions you have. And this last slide, I just wanted to show you the existing and proposed designations so you have it during deliberations. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity to present.
Thank you, Mr. Gorman. So at this time, I would take public comments, but we do not have any for this item. So Do the commissioners have any questions, comments, or direction to provide to staff to be presented with the item's future city council work session?
I have a question.
Hmm?
The piece of property on the south side of this property that's still light industrial, but I know there's a house in there, or maybe two houses, I don't know. It's all pretty overgrown. Have they expressed an interest to have their property rezoned as well?
That's a great question. Not that we know of. We have tried to influence the property owners in that area to work together. The fact of the matter is that, as Evan pointed out, this whole area was light industrial, and then the Antioch Unified School District cited that parcel as a site for their school. So that was after the city incorporated and the general plan was adopted. And when that happened, it kind of set in motion this chain of events. So when that larger yellow parcel came forward with that request for a general plan amendment, it was pretty easy for staff to support those findings for a general plan amendment. It would match the adjacent residential. And I remember at that time even we said, have you reached out to your neighbors? Because we feel like this whole corner could kind of go this direction with the right development. To the best of our knowledge, I don't know if Evan knows anything in addition, but there has not been collaboration there, even though we've suggested and requested it.
Seems to me like the woman, I believe, that owns that corner property has been here, and I don't remember what it was about. And didn't we just recently talk about the piece of property to the west of this, on the other side of?
Yeah, it's
Ivo?
just beyond the sliver of blue to
Yeah.
the left side.
Yeah.
It's that larger blue, yeah.
Right. I think it makes sense, especially since it butts up against the school property. And Antioch Unified School District chose to build a school in a light industrial area. And I know there's nothing the city can do about that in terms of schools choosing sites for their facilities. So it makes sense to me to rezone that as residential, low, medium.
Thank you, Commissioner Creek. At this point, we actually now have a public speaker that would like to speak, Miss Anna Daisy Coronado. You'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
I do appreciate that you guys took the time to hear me out. My concern is I do like what her proposed, but I'm just a little bit curious. Is that she's trying to the applicant, is she trying to do houses and how many? Or is it in front of the school, or is it side of her house in front? Another question that I have, another concern, is that my understanding is my house is in the corner and it's commercial and trying to do it residential. That's gonna lower in future, am I trying to sell it? Because that's my concern. Is only her property is gonna be residential, or you trying to do the whole, just her property?
Mr. Gorman.
Through the chair, I can't answer those questions. This application is for the applicant is asking for the right to build housing on the site. They haven't proposed any designs or what they would look like or which direction they would face. The density would be between 2 and 5 homes, and each property owner must apply separately. They can apply together, but folks have to apply for the change.
I'm just gonna say one thing, and it's gonna help us as a community of Oakley. Like I said before, past month again, consider the safety of the school, of the kids, the street.
You have 1 minute.
The street, where's Live Oak, where the school is at. It's just the safety. That's my concern. That'll be it. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Coronado. All right, we'll continue. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
I appreciate the comment about the safety of the kids, and that's why I support this, is because if a light industrial facility would be going in there, I would think that would be more dangerous and less safe for children. Plus, if that is developed into 2 to 5 houses, part of the requirements would be to build a sidewalk along Live Oak for those children. I would rather have kids going to that school walking in front of houses rather than walking in front of a light industrial facility. So I agree. I appreciate your comments about the safety and importance of safety of the children.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Direction for City Council? Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, yeah, I can appreciate kind of having a residential, zoning this residential, I could appreciate, and I am in favor of because of its proximity to the school. I think two concerns I'm hearing this evening, and just, you know, school safety, very, very important, but, and Oakley Elementary, right behind us here, has that walkway where, right, like when I was little, I got dropped off right there on a safe street and got to walk right in. And so I wonder, in this residential complex, this zoned yellow, can we work with Antioch Unified to kind of have a alleyway in the way that we have at Oakley Elementary? And then just another, looking at the previous work session and kind of having a zoned commercial right on the edge of a corner here, just kind of consideration for City Council to look at what does screening or privacy look like. I know our City Council is great about that, but what is adding privacy for those homes up against this corner lot would be helpful.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramirez. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Did we provide enough direction and feedback on this item?
You did. Thank you very much, Commission.
All right, so now we adjourn. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.